I've dealt with a situation today with women in prison and the fact that our penal system was never designed to accommodate women in prison. And since 1990, the women in prison population has increased 700%. It's still a minority of the overall prison population, but it's gone up 700% since 1990. And the abuse of women in prison is undeniable. The sexual abuse, the neglect, the assault, all of the dehumanizing things that happen to women in prison is well documented and undeniable. How do you square up with sending women into a penal system that you know is broken and you know is not going to be a constructive destination for them?
First of all, I try not to send people to prison if I don't have to, if I can rehabilitate, but sometimes I have to send them. And what I usually do is in my orders, I take the time to send a message to the warden. This person needs mental health. This person needs grief counseling, and send them some messages of what I think they ought to have. Now, I don't run the prison, and he doesn't have to listen to me. But when I get letters from prisoners saying, I need this, or they did this to me, or didn't do that to me, I will call the warden, and they're generally receptive. It is a huge problem, and the next problem on the horizon are transgender. What I'm finding is that if you have a transgender person, they have no place for them. So they'll put them in solitary confinement, which is cruel and unusual punishment. And I recently had one in the jail. They put a man who was transitioning into a woman halfway there, and looked and talked like a woman, but wasn't yet fully a woman. And they put her in isolation. And when this woman came out of lockup, the first thing I said is, we need to have a chat. What's wrong? What's going on with you? I didn't look at the paperwork. I looked at the human being in front of me. And this human being was bent over and very shy and withdrawn. And I thought, I need to get this person some help. And she explained to me that she's transitioning and they've kept her in isolation for 4 months. And I said, I am terribly sorry. I did not know. And I gave her a PR bond, released her that day. And she was so grateful. And I called the sheriff and said, don't you ever, if there's ever anybody like that who you don't have a place for, you call me. We can put a GPS tether on at county expense, and I will give them a PR bond. You cannot do that. And he hemmed and hawed and said, well, our new jail will have a place, but we don't now. Well, that's inexcusable.
That's what I'm talking about. Some of these prisoners, just the fact of what they have or don't have, putting them into a system that can't accommodate them results in negligence or outright abuse that is cruel and unusual. It's violation of their Eighth Amendment right. So if a judgment is rendered and a sentence is imposed, the deficiencies of the system equal cruel and unusual punishment just by putting them in the system.
Absolutely. And one of the things legislators could do, and they're not doing, and taxpayers should rally in the streets, is they close the low-level mental health institutions. If you're putting someone who is in need of mental health in the prison system, it costs somewhere between $38,000 and maybe $58,000, depending on how much treatment they need, what's going on, if they're in segregation, how much security, and all of that. If we put them back into those institutions, if we open that up, put them in a low-level security, get them actually treated, we're going to spend maybe $6,000 to $10,000. We save lives, we treat people, we don't put them in dangerous situations, and we don't house them in cruel and unusual punishment prisons. And why isn't the legislature dealing with that? Why, as the taxpayers, are we paying for these missteps to be inhumane against our Constitution in the most powerful nation in the world?